I had a chance to see Capitalism, A Love Story, and I'm obviously a huge fan of Roger and Me, and it really felt like this was a sequel to Roger and Me. I felt like in certain places, I mean, you actually went back to the headquarters. Am I right? Is this a maybe a personal sequel to Roger and Me?
That's exactly how I felt about it. It feels like I've come full circle to a place where I started. Now, I don't know if I feel good about that because I made that film, Roger Me, 20 years ago in the hopes of having people take a look at how corporations were ruining this country. And I don't know if I succeeded. And so here I am 20 years later, and I don't want to just focus on a General Motors or on a pharmaceutical company or a Halliburton. I really want to go for the big enchilada here, the thing that's at the core of all of these problems. And so that's why I made Capitalism a Love Story.
Well, we're here with independentfilm.com. And so, you know, with a lot of filmmakers who respect your work as a documentary filmmaker. Another thing that I thought was really interesting in your film was how one of the security guards said, "Don't touch the camera." And I felt like, you know, 20 years ago, they touched the camera. What's changed as a documentary filmmaker? I know that one thing is people recognize you, so it's harder for you to walk in and do what you did 20 years ago because you're a well-known entity now. But what's changed? They didn't touch the camera. Are you happy about that? Do you feel that's progress?
They are a little more worried about messing with me than they were 20 years ago. I guess that makes me a little safer. But even though it's harder, like to get into places with a camera because they do know me, the flip side of that is true. Because so many people out there do know me, I get a lot of incredible stories sent my way. People send me tapes and discs and documents from work and all this stuff I wouldn't have got before because nobody knew who I was. So there's a big positive to this too, that people out there who don't have a voice, who are feeling run over by the system, they know that there's somebody here who's going to listen to them and who does want to hear their story.
I thought it was interesting. I've been listening to interviews that you've given since the 90s, I guess, maybe. And I remember hearing little touches throughout your career when anyone would ask you about your religion, that you're a Catholic, you always kind of went, nah, you know, I don't really want to focus on that. And then in this movie, you just went completely full circle and said it's okay. And this is probably the most personal film that I think you've ever made. Yes. Why did you decide to talk about your faith?
That's a good question. I never have wanted to because I'm not a proselytizer. I believe that religion and spiritual beliefs should be very personal and private and kept amongst yourself and the people that you worship with or whatever. But I can't stand living in a country where religion gets crammed and shoved down people's throats constantly, or where a certain religion believes that they get to call the shots and tell you how you should behave and believe. That is the opposite of what Jesus intended, Moses, Muhammad, all of them. It just goes contrary to everything I believe in. But in this film, I decided, because I thought, I've made this film really as if it may be it may be my last film, my last documentary at least. And it may not be, but it may be. And so I really wanted to sort of just let it all out. And I couldn't take it anymore of listening to how Christianity, I think, has just been so abused by people who call themselves Christians. And so I thought I would just put it out there. Not that I want anybody to become Catholic or whatever, God forbid. But I do want you to know that the beliefs I was raised with have informed my work for my entire life. And I was raised with a very fundamental belief that I will be judged by how I treat the least among us. And that a rich man will have a harder time getting into heaven than a camel will have getting through the eye of the needle. That's pretty clear advice. And it's stuck with me for all of my life.
Yeah, I think you do a great job of it, and you certainly don't make people, want to run out and be, your faith. But it's nice to see that it's okay to talk about the decision that you've made.
I think
spiritually.
I think too that it's frustrating for me because Fox News and Rush Limbaugh have invented a character named Michael Moore. And they have told so many lies about who I am. And I've never really spent any time telling people who I am. that I am this person who went to the seminary, that I wanted to be a Catholic priest when I was a kid. That, that I actually live, in many ways, a very conservative life. I've been with the same woman I've been with for almost 30 years, and I don't spend money I don't have. These are all, I live a pretty traditional life, and I'm painted as like some sort of caricature out on some limb, like I'm getting all my instructions from Havana. I mean, it's like, people stop me on the street, conservatives or Republicans, and, they'll say, I don't agree with you. I said, well, I don't think you've seen any of my films then. That's right, I haven't. Well, you should try one of them. Don't worry, I don't get any money from the DVD sales. Just try to watch one of them, because I think even though we may not agree politically on everything, if you watch my movie, you'll find that, number one, I love this country. Number two, I have a heart. I care deeply about the things. I'm following my conscience as best I can. And number three, I think you'll laugh a little bit. You might find the film's kind of funny. And who couldn't use a good laugh right now?
Well, Michael, thank you for joining us at independentfilm.com. The film is called Capitalism, A Love Story. It's Michael Moore's new documentary about capitalism in America.